Hello chess Neurites. In this video, we'll explore the dramatic game 8 of the World Chess Championship being held in Singapore between Ding Liren and Gukesh. This game was a roller coaster with both sides having winning chances at different moments. I'm thrilled to guide you through the critical positions and key moments. So let's get started. So Ding Liren had white pieces and Gukesh was black. So Ding started with the first move c4, the English opening, and Gukesh replied with e5. After that, Ding played knight c3. Now black has quite a good number of options. Knight f6 is there, knight c6 is there, pawn to c6 is there, bishop b4 is there. Each of them have their own different ideas. And Gukesh played bishop b4. So he's just, in some of these lines, bishop takes e3 is played. So the pawn structure gets a bit weakened and then black can slowly try to create activity. So Ding played knight d5. He is putting the knight on d5 with a tempo because this bishop is under pressure. So Gukesh went back, bishop e7. So some of you would be wondering, what is going on? Bishop b4 and then bishop e7. Is Gukesh not wasting the time by making these bishop moves like this? So he is doing that, but he has a reason. Basically, the reason is that this knight has gotten on d5. So he might have some opportunity at some point to play c6 to kick the knight with tempo, or to play knight f6 and then challenge this knight. But once again, some of you would be like, can't white take the bishop and get the double bishop advantage? Yes, white can. But then black can play accordingly and then try to create some pressure. So for example, knight f3 was played in the game, a development move. So Gukesh played d6 and then Ding played in this position g3. So let's say in this case, so Gukesh played c6. So he's challenging that knight. So and then Ding got the double bishop advantage. But Gukesh is not worried, because what will happen is that he will try to fight for the center and he will try to keep the position not too much open, so Ding's bishops won't be able to do much. So it will be a strategic battle where Ding will try to open the position, open the diagonals, so that his double bishop advantage can be more effective. And on the other hand, Gukesh will try to take control of the center, more control of the center, because there is already one pawn, and then he will try to play more on the light squares because he has the light square bishop. So let's see how the game unfolds. So bishop g2 was played in this position, and then Gukesh replied with f6. So this seems like a strange move. Like, what is he playing? He's weakening his king side by doing this. See, he's being flexible in this position. So his plan is that he wants to play d5 and wants to take for the control of the center. Now, if Ding replies with e4 at some point, he has no issues, because then the center would be a bit more stable, a bit more closed. And since Ding has the double bishop advantage, so e4 would help Gukesh a bit. So he might even, for example, after e4, he might even play bishop e6, putting pressure on this. If d3, there might be even consideration of playing c5. You see, the center has become stable, and because of that, the double bishop advantage of Ding won't be as much stable. So this is one of the ideas that could potentially happen. So that's why Gukesh played f6. Yes, it weakens his king side as well, but he recognizes that Ding is not in a position to put significant pressure there. So, but f6 allows him to defend this pawn so that he can play d5. Otherwise, if pawn is not on f6, this pawn would fall the moment he plays d5. So castle was played in this position by Ding. Gukesh developed the bishop with a tempo. This pawn is under pressure. Then b3 was played. Now d5. So see, in this position, he has both the pawns in the center, and this is, so some give and take, because Ding has the double bishop advantage as I mentioned earlier, and Gukesh has strong center. So let's see. So Ding actually brings the bishop on this diagonal. One thing we should remember is that whenever we have the double bishop advantage, then, so here white has a light square bishop and a dark square bishop, of course, but black has only light square bishop. So white will try to create more activity on the dark squares, because that bishop of black is missing. So white will be able to put more pressure through that. So here castle was played. Then Ding just improved the rook's position. By the way, in this position, Ding offers the pawn sacrifice, but Gukesh is not interested in that, because He is behind in development. His king is in the center. So he's like, no pawn. I'll make my king safe. I'll complete my development and then I'll come after the pawn. So then Ding defends the c4 pawn. Then a5 gets played. So now, see, if you look at it, so minor pieces are out, and then for white, and Ding is already castled his king. So now the maneuvering part starts. So he's going to take things slow, and then he's going to try to challenge Gukesh. So prepare to challenge Gukesh's center step by step. So let's see, what did he play? Knight e1 seems like a strange move. Like, why is he going back with the knight? But in fact, it is connected with challenging the center of black. So can you try to guess what could be Ding's idea? So you can pause the video here and then you can resume once you are ready. So Gukesh played rook e8. He's like, I don't want to keep this rook on this diagonal. And then Ding showed his idea, that is f4. That's why he had played knight e1. Now some of you would be wondering, wait. Can't he play d4 and achieve the same? Not so much, because Gukesh will play e4. And then because of this pawn on e4, this bishop on g2 would be a bit restricted. So then some of you would be like, so Gukesh in this position played e takes f4. But couldn't he have played e4 in this position? So see, if e4 happens, then this pawn is not on d4. This pawn is on d2. So, okay, big deal. So what? There is a big difference. So in this position, what happens is there is this move d3 and white can challenge black center. But you can be like, okay, what if f5? See now, look at these pawns. All on light squares. Dark squares have gotten weaker. Ding can get chances to create some activity through this diagonal now. So Ding was looking forward to that, because if he had played in this position instead of playing knight e1, actually if he had played d4, then this idea would not have been it would not have been possible. So basically knight e1 with the idea of playing f4 and keeping this diagonal open for the bishop was the main reason. So let's see. So f4 was played by Ding. Gukesh played d takes f4. Then rook takes f4 was played. Now Gukesh is going for these exchanges. It seems a bit scary that he's opening the position. So now this bishop has become active. This bishop is active. Is he not afraid of these things? So one thing if we notice is that Ding's pieces are not that greatly placed. So Gukesh is actually relying on the fact that yes, he has got double bishops and Gukesh has actually exchanged the central pieces. But because of the piece coordination, Gukesh feels that he will get enough activity. So what did he do? He played knight g6, improving the knight's position with a tempo. Rook e4, rook is in the center, but it can become a bit of a weakness as well if Ding is not careful. So now Gukesh played knight a6, a multi-purpose move. Knight can get to d4 as well, knight can get to c7 as well. If this bishop is not here, maybe if the bishop goes to b2, knight can go to c5 as well. Then Ding played knight c2, improving the knight's position and also sort of dealing with those potential knight b4 ideas. Then Gukesh just improved the queen's position, queen c7, knight d4, this bishop is under pressure, simple move, bishop f7, then d3 was played, centralization of the knight. So see, both sides are slowly trying to improve the pieces and then just trying to do it. So the game is pretty complex. So then knight f3 was played in this position. So Gukesh is like, I don't want to exchange the knights. So this knight on d7 is a bit flexible piece. It can go to c5 at times. It can try to put some pressure. Knight b4, knight c5 could be some ideas that I could play. So yeah, he wants to keep the knights. Then rook takes e8, rook takes e8, and then so far it was a very complex battle, and we can say that it's fairly balanced in a way that white has double bishops and bit of a pleasant position, but still Gukesh is handling things well, and Ding here actually played an inaccuracy in this position. He played rook b1. So looks like a natural move at first. He's bringing the rook on the semi-open file. He can try to create some pressure through that, but he had missed the next move of Gukesh, and he played that in just 1.5 minutes, and that was a shock for Ding. And because of that move, Gukesh takes over the initiative, takes over the activity. By the way, if you want to attempt, you can Pause the video here and you can try to find what strong move did Gukesh play. Gukesh played b5, a really strong move. He's basically challenging this pawn. He's planning to play at some point, maybe b4, restrict this bishop, and this is quite a passive position for white to be in. But some of you, wait, what? Is this not a pawn blunder? No, of course Gukesh has seen more. He's not going to blunder this pawn. Not c takes b5, c takes b5, rook takes b5. Not that. He's not going to allow that rook to get active. So, after c takes b5, of course he had seen more. Queen b6, check. And then he will get the pawn. Now, so what happened? What's the difference? The difference is, in the absence of the c4 pawn, look at the activity of the bishop. And black will recover this pawn, of course, and then that b4 will happen. Look at that bishop. Then this knight can get active. This knight can get active. The activity that black will get on the queen side is tremendous. And Ding clearly underestimated this. So king f1, c takes b5. Now Gukesh is the one who is better. And in this position, so this is not an easy position for Ding to play. And he decides to sacrifice the pawn. And it's not the correct decision, because now Gukesh has the chance to get from better position to clearly better position. We can say even close to winning position. So in this, he just took the pawn. All right. Then Ding actually played bishop to d4. So he is putting pressure on this queen so that if the queen moves somewhere, for example, if the queen goes to b8 or something like that, then there can be rook a1 and this pawn can come under pressure. If queen c7, then this pawn can get under pressure. So he has to be a bit cautious about it. So now the choices for Gukesh mainly are whether to put if he doesn't want to give up one of these pawns, so is whether to play knight ac5 or knight dc5. Yes, both the moves look a bit scary because self-pinning, that can be a bit anxious moment. But the thing is that he has enough defensive resources that it's not like white is going to win that piece. But still an important moment. Which knight to bring? Because Gukesh actually chose the wrong knight, and we'll see what happened after that. But if he had chosen the correct knight to bring it to c5, then he would be close to winning. So if you want, you can try to pause the video here and try to attempt what knight should Gukesh have put on c5, and that might have given him the lead in this World Championship match. So in this position, he should have actually played knight to, so the d knight to c5. Seems a bit strange. Wait, what? So knight ac5 looks so natural actually. This knight is not doing much. Why not bring it here? See, there's an important point. So we'll see. So knight dc5. So now this, of course, this rook needs to move. Rook c1, very natural move. Now Gukesh can bring the queen, bishop to f7 back. He's like, okay, let's go back, and then he will start pushing those pass pawns. Now in this position, if knight d2 is played, maybe with the idea of knight e4 or something, the queen moves, and that's fine, because if black gets out of the pin, then yeah, these two pawns will start rolling, and this is too much for Ding to handle. But let's say if Ding plays queen c2, he's putting pressure on the knight, and then Gukesh can play rook c8. The main point in this position is that he can actually move the queen next, like maybe something like queen e6, and then this, so this pin won't be there. Or another choice in this position, rook c7, defend this, and then he can move the queen, and then he can move the knight. So the thing is that it looks a bit scary. Yes, it looks a bit scary for Gukesh, but the thing is that so Ding is not able to win any material. So there is this, but Ding is not able to maximize the pressure after that. So, and in this position, actually Gukesh knew that this movement is actually quite important. That's why he thought for almost 7 minutes in this before making the move. But yeah, he chose the wrong knight, and now the position has become complicated once again. But then, what's such a big deal? See, the big deal in this position is that after rook c1, in many of the lines, so let's say I'll show you what Gukesh did. So Gukesh played bishop b3, then queen e1 was played. So this was a really nice idea by him, because basically if something like knight takes d3, because this looks like he takes d3 and then rook e1 check, then there's this really nice move, queen d3. This is hanging, this is hanging, this is hanging. So Gukesh in the press conference said that he had actually missed this move. So basically he would have sort of seen this move, but he might have just quickly seen, okay, knight d3 is coming, but yeah, would have, yeah, queen c3 is something definitely would have missed. So when Ding played that, yeah, it was so surprised. So, but then we still, what's the big deal? Why that knight was a bit better? So as we'll see the variations, it will become a bit clear to us. So in this position, after so in certain cases, what would happen is there would be a possibility of playing bishop h3 and putting pressure through here as well. And if the knight is on a6, then that would not have been so easy for black to play. So let's just try to understand that in these type of positions, if sometimes directly the bishop goes here, then there can be some ideas where the bishop can go back to f2 in some cases, and then there can be d4, and then there can be d5 type of ideas as well. So small difference, but because that knight is on d7, this bishop h3 idea can be possible. If the bishop goes to f7 and not e6, then that is a possibility. If bishop e6, then after the bishop moves, there can be d4, d5. It is small difference, but that has huge consequences, because one, if the knight was here, this one, so then it would be a win, and now it's a complex position. So let's see. Now bishop e6 was played, and then Ding played queen f2. He's increasing the pressure on this knight. Gukesh defended it, and then Ding played once again a really nice move. He played bishop e3, a quiet move, but a lethal quiet move, because if Gukesh is not careful, then this d4 is a threat, because if the knight moves, the rook goes. So Gukesh played rook c7. He's like, I'm going to defend my rook. So now it's very important that Ding is not able to play d4. It's very important to note that, because there is knight e4 and the queen is under attack. So in this position, Ding actually had an opportunity to get close to winning position. It was extremely difficult, but still an opportunity. The move that he had to play, by the way, if you want, please pause the video here, and you can try to attempt. You can try to think what Ding should have played in this position. So the move that Ding should have played in this position is knight e1. So an amazing move actually. At first, what is this move? So the idea of White is pretty simple. He wants to play d4, but now the bishop on g2 is covering the e4 square, so there won't be knight e4. Okay, and if the knight moves somewhere else, then there will be d5. This bishop under pressure, this queen under pressure, this rook under pressure, something is going to fall. So black can play something like bishop f7. The idea is that after d4, once the knight moves, d5 won't attack the bishop. But now, so in this position, what White can actually do is, White can play bishop to f4, putting pressure on that rook. If the rook goes to a7, now bishop h3, there's some pressure over here, as well. And basically what happens is that if bishop e6, then this bishop will come back and this knight will go. So this knight e1, so there are more variations than this, more complicated, but still the thing is that because of this bishop, and rook and queen along with the pawn, so there will be one combination or another, and that will actually give Ding significant material advantage. In almost all the lines he is winning at least a piece, and that would be a bit too much for Ding, so for Gukesh to handle. But as I said, it's not just about playing knight e1, it's about the resulting position that is happening after that, the complexity of the variations, and and Ding did not have that much time on his clock as well, so it's not that easy to play such moves. And he played quite a natural move, knight d4. He's centralizing the knight with a tempo, because if knight takes e6, queen takes e6, then he would win the piece. So quite a natural move, but yeah. Now, Ding is still better, but the activity or the winning chances is not as much. So Gukesh in this position played bishop f7. Of course, he defended his bishop. Then Ding played knight c6. So now he's like, I'll take the knight. So then Gukesh played rook c6, bishop c6, queen c6, bishop c5. Now, so quite a lot of things happened in last few moves. So let's just take a stock of it. So what has happened because of this is, Ding has gained some material. He has the rook for the knight and a pawn of black. But on the other hand, so Gukesh actually has these connected pass pawns, and if Ding is not careful, then he can get into trouble. But rook is a rook, so that's why Ding has better chances. Now in this position, so h6 was played by Gukesh. He's like, I don't want to take any chances before moving my pawns forward or before doing anything else. Let me create an escape square for the king. So Ding also does the same. He's like, I'll try to move here with the king, and then if it's on e1, if the queen on h1 comes. So right now, if queen h1, if the king was on f1, there was queen g1. But he's like, my queen can go somewhere else. I don't want to take any chances. I'll just put it here. Now b4. So by the way, 35 moves have happened. We are just 5 moves away from the time control, and both the sides have less time in this position. So Ding in this position should have continued with this king d2 move, and he still has better chances, although it's quite difficult for him to convert this into a win, but still he would have better chances. But in the game, actually, he played the move queen d4, centralizing the queen. Quite a natural move, but Gukesh in this position played an extremely strong move, that is knight e5, centralization of the knight. Then in this position, Ding played king d2, and then Gukesh played queen g2. See, now knight f3 is a threat. And then in this position, Ding had to come back to queen f2. So basically sort of admitting that centralizing the queen at that time might not have been the best idea, because he allowed knight e5. Instead, he should have just played directly king d2. But so small things, and now Gukesh has made a comeback. So it is still slightly better, we can say, but it's quite complex. So now so Gukesh actually replied with queen d5. Then Ding played queen d4. He recognized that now these pawns are getting a bit dangerous. This king is an escape square, so he's not able to do much. So he was ready for the draw. So he played queen d4, queen g2, queen f2. He sort of repeated the position now. So already 40 moves have happened, and both of them have gained 30 extra minutes. So this was Gukesh's turn actually. So if he plays queen g2, it would be 3-fold repetition. It would be draw. And and since still, as I said earlier, rook is a rook, even though these pass pawns are there, so everyone was expecting that Gukesh would play queen g2 and it would be a draw. But he's fearless, and he played queen a2 check. So he's like, I feel that my pass pawns can do something more, so let me just try to be a bit ambitious. So so then rook c2 was played, and then he went back queen e6. So his plan is that he will try to slowly but steadily he will try to push these pawns. So Ding played queen d8 check, and then he took this pawn. Gukesh had seen this. He's like, okay, I'm giving up one of my pawns, but I'll push this pass pawn. So what will happen because of that is he'll try to get create some sort of activity because of this advanced pass pawn, rook c1, and then he centralized the queen d5. By the way, the threat in this position is to play b2. So what's the idea? Rook b1. Knight c4 check. This centralized queen and not so safe king of Ding, it can create some issues. So, but of course, Ding won't fall for this. He played queen b4 in this position. And then in this position, Gukesh played queen g2. He's like, I can try to target this pawn. I can maybe try to play knight f3. So, depending on what Ding does, he would have continued with his plan. So, in this position, Ding actually noticed something that practically forces the draw. And then he went for it. After thinking for about 4 minutes, he played queen e4 check. And this practically forces a draw. Queen takes e4, d takes e4, b2, rook b1, and then bishop a2, forcing white to capture this pawn. And then there is knight c4 check. And then this is, so here the draw was agreed. The thing is that after king takes b2, white's up a pawn, but it's an opposite color bishop endgame. And these are double pawns, and actually black can just simply recover the pawn as well by doing something like this and then this. But even if that was not there in the opposite color bishop endgame, just with an extra pawn and even this double isolated pawn, there is no chance something would happen. So they agreed for a draw. So an extremely fighting battle actually. So there were imbalances from the beginning. when Gukesh decided that he would give the double bishop advantage to Ding, but he would fight for the center, he would fight for the activity. And then he found that really nice resource of playing b5 and putting pressure on Ding's queen side. But at the critical moment, he actually chose the wrong knight to bring it to c5. And then the position became quite complicated. And then Ding had the opportunity to bring that knight back to e1. And but of course, it was extremely tough. And then there were and then later on it was quite complicated game, and then it got into a draw. So 8 games have ended and the score is 4-4. So 6 more games to go, and it has been quite a fighting world championship so far. And let's hope for the same for the games to come. Thanks everyone for joining, and I'll see you in the next video with the recap of, let's hope, another exciting game between Ding and Gukesh.